what happens now? The Supreme Court has issued notices. Are we looking towards the Supreme Court to solve this? Secondly, there are people like Surbhi who say reread the exam. Don't make us retake it, right? Because that's also tough. It would be her sixth time taking the exam. It would be washed out of another year for people like her. And who is accountable? Where does the buck stop?
See, there are several parts of this. Firstly, I'd like to correct the BJP spokesperson. What has been cancelled today is the NET exam. That is for PhDs. That was the painful decision you have taken. The painful decision that you have not taken is what happens to the 23 lakh plus students who have written the NEET, the NEET. So NEET is something which affects a whole host of people, including Surbhi. It was challenged these exams were challenged in the Supreme Court in May itself, when the first rumors of the leak came in. The Supreme Court had at that point of time issued notice and said we'll see it in July. Then, as more and more facts came out, there have been more and more petitions, but the Supreme Court is on vacation. And since it was the Chief Justice who had issued the first notice, so possibly the judges who are on the vacation bench do not want to take a precipitate decision, especially when the matter is pending before the Chief Justice's bench. So what they've said is that please complete all the paperwork, and on the 8th, as soon as the Supreme Court opens and the Chief Justice is sitting, a decision would be taken. Now, just because the Supreme Court is hearing these petitions does not mean that the administration cannot take a decision on its own. I really think that the administration is using the Supreme Court proceedings so that when the actual necessary decision of cancelling this particular compromised exam is taken, they have the court to blame. They can tell the students, what can we do? It is the court that has ordered us.
So you're saying the government is hiding behind the court's robes.
Right now, it is using the court's process as a kind of a smoke curtain, not to take a decision. Now, it is pretty obvious that the paper has leaked in more than one place. And the first thing, there are two parts of it. One is to punish the guilty. The second and more important part of it is to find where the original loopholes were, plug them, put in a credible administration, not the current administration of NEET. That's where I agree with the student here on the panel. So have a credible NEET administration in place, irrespective of what happens in court, irrespective of whether you are going to cancel the exam or not, or whether the court orders a cancellation of the exam.
So change the leadership of NTA to start with. Take a decision on whether you're reordering this exam to take place afresh, or you're rereading the exams that have already been given. Has the manipulation happened at the scoring level? But Sanjay, there's a problem with that. If the paper has leaked, then the rereading of the exam is not enough, because some people have an unfair advantage.
So to give you an example, if a fly falls into your cup of tea, you might take it off with a spoon. But if it's a drop of poison which gets into the cup of tea, then the whole cup has to be thrown away. So that is the real decision to take. And whether it is the administration that takes it or whether the court takes it, it will depend on timing and various other calls. But I do think that the situation has come to a stage where you can't merely bifurcate one part of it and say that the rest of it is all good.
Yeah. Abhijit, even rumblings have begun to take place within those who support the BJP. The ABVP, for example, is in a situation where it's a student body. It can't not speak for the students. And irrespective of whether the BJP or its supporters blame, let's say, parties like the RJD or the Congress blames the BJP, for young women like Surbhi, all that is noise. All they're saying is, this is my fifth attempt at taking this exam, going to be a washout. Do you believe, Abhijit, that the government, to begin with, underestimated the scale of this crisis, how many lakhs of young people it impacts, the anger that has brought students out on the street? How do you look at it, Abhijit?
So first, let's put this in proportion. Out of 4,500 exam centers, 8 have been affected by this scandal. Number one. Number two, there are two different instances, one in Godhra and one in Patna. The Godhra was a case of cheating, where the transcript that I've read showed that somebody was going to come out and fill out. This guy was not meant to, guy or girl, I don't know, was not meant to fill out the paper, and some guy was meant to come and fill in the multiple choice answers. The one in Patna was more serious because the guy got caught. They burnt the paper, but from what remains of the paper, you could tell it was the exact same as the paper that he was giving or taking rather. And now he's apparently, I don't know if it's him, but someone's come out and confessed that it was very much the paper out there. This is number two. Number three, how do you deal with this situation? I hear everybody pointing fingers. I'm not seeing anybody come up with a solution to it. And so the NTA comes up with its own, I don't know if it was good intentioned or clumsy because I'm not an educator or an examiner. The first thing they came up with was that where all the leaks had happened, some grace marks milega. The second was where it had come late, in the centers where it had come late, there were going to be grace marks depending on if it had come 10 minutes late, 30 minutes late, whatever. Now, the problem is, Dharmendra Pradhan steps into all of this. Dharmendra Pradhan brought the government into the entire problem because based simply on the NTA, which was lying like crazy to cover up its own heels, he says nothing wrong happened. Now, being a minister, you're expected to be a bit more responsible and talk to the police because it was already under police investigation by that time. He should have asked some more people. They did not. And then the BJP gets stuck in a rhetorical action trap. Now, given that 8 centers out of 4,500 are affected, what was the solution going to be, Barkha? I really want to know this because one solution was to cancel the entire exam. The second was to give grace marks. What was the third solution? I'm happy to throw anybody under the truck as long as somebody gives me a solution that satisfies everyone. There was no way that any solution here was going to satisfy anyone. The re-examination is particularly traumatic because I still remember, I still have nightmares of the kind of board preparations and, college में public exam preparations we had to go through. I used to break out in cold sweats at night thinking I'd failed my paper, zero mil gaya, and things like that. So to go through that entire trauma all over again is problematic. Finally, fifth quick point. There are systems today within our digital infrastructure to sort out these problems very, very quickly, where each exam station has a printer, a rapid printer, where students go in. There is a bunch of 50,000 questions based on the syllabus, and each one is given a randomized paper based with an equal spacing of difficulty of each question kind of thing, right? These are things that can easily be implemented. Nobody wants to implement it. Very quick last point. You brought up the question very unusually of 67 people scoring top marks. That was done because the government rationalized the paper. Before, the NEET entrance basement was here, and what your 11th and 12th standard taught you was here. And so a whole load of coaching centers had popped up to cover this vacuum. This time, the NEET was brought down to this level, which is why you had 67 people. There has been people getting that much is not proof of cheating unless you prove the cheating. And the rationalization had not happened. Had the rationalization not happened,
I brought it up because it's been one of the points raised by the students again and again. I don't know why it happened. One of the other things that they point out is that 6 of those toppers were from one center, and in Haryana, and therefore they think that that is suspicious. Again, like you, I am not an examiner. This is not something I have expertise on. Surbhi, do you want to respond to that before we actually come to ab kya hona chahiye? Abhijit says the exam was rationalized. So the 67 scorers in themselves is not a point of suspicion. But aapne mujhe kaha, and you are one of many who has said to me कि आपको वो ठीक नहीं लगा. बताइए क्यों? Surbhi? I'm just unmuting you. Yeah, go ahead, Surbhi.
About the
Surbhi, if you can hear me, about the top scorers being 67.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. Now about that, so there are many reasonings like this. Key resources have been made easier. Students are like able to get the resources easily. That's why they are scoring much and much and much. So this is the reason everybody is giving. I would like to say on that key resources, the online resources. I would like to say the online coaching, the online classes has made very you can say resources available for everyone, but that happened years ago. That didn't happen just last year. So why was there a fluctuation in just last year? And about the paper easy, the paper was not that easy. I have given the paper, and the 2020 paper, I would like to say the COVID one was the easiest till now. It was very easy. The paper was not easy. Paper was lengthy. Paper was tricky. It required time, concentration, and a lot of things. It was not about the question, ki, okay, this question is easy, this was right. No, the paper was lengthy. The bio itself was lengthy.
Okay.
So the
So,
all of
so
these things made it
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know the answer. Abhijit, you say it's rationalization. That's where the gap has been covered. The students are not convinced. And the breakdown of trust is actually what's happened. It's the breakdown of trust between those taking the exam and those who are administering the exam. That is actually where we are now. That is the story in one line. Anna Malai has also issued a statement saying the problem is not the NEET itself, is not the design of the paper itself. Let's take a look and we'll come back on what should happen next.
NTA, the National Testing Agency, more than 1 crore 23 lakh students take NTA exams every year, either a NEET or something else. China 1 crore 29 lakh. When so many students take it, now can we go and shoot NTA to say, now if there is any problem, we will fix it. That is the idea of government. Governments are here to fix a problem. A car meeting an accident doesn't mean you eliminate cars from road. You say, no, tomorrow I'm going to put an order, no cars. Put airbags, put seat belt, put a speed control device, monitor with police, do drunken driving testing, then you allow the car to run. In any malpractice has happened in NTA, the Honorable Minister Dharmendra Pradhanji has said, we will take strict action, 100%. Government is cognizant of the various inquiry that is happening. Minister has said he is going to do it. So we will leave it to our government's wisdom. They will take action.
Steve, what's the action you're expecting at this point?
Thank you, Barkha. Barkha, first and foremost, we had asked for a Supreme Court monitored probe. The Bharatiya Janata Party's government, instead of making sure that there was a time-bound inquiry, a fast-track disposal of the case, since 32 lakh students are involved here, 32 lakh.
We just lost you in the. Yeah, now you're back. Yeah, now you're back. We just lost you briefly.
I'll repeat the last point that I made.
Yes.
So what I was saying was that instead of ordering a time-bound inquiry, instead of doing a fast-track disposal of the case, the government is for some reason shying away from an inquiry. I want to know from the Bharatiya Janata Party government, why are you shying away from it? Is there somebody that you're trying to protect? Is there something that you're trying to hide? Is that the reason as to why you're brushing things under the carpet? Second,
the UGc-NET paper has been handed over to the CBI.
No, I was talking of NEET.
I know. But I'm saying since it all comes under the same testing agency. Yeah.
The thing is that we asked for a Supreme Court monitored probe because we cannot just have faith anymore in so many institutions. They have been reduced to be allegedly the puppets of the Bharatiya Janata Party. We don't know which institution can be trusted nowadays, because that's why we asked for a Supreme Court monitored probe, and the Bharatiya Janata Party didn't tell once what problem did they have with ordering a Supreme Court monitored probe in the NEET matter. Second, the results of the NEET exam were declared on the 4th of June. That is exactly the day the election results were declared. Is the reason behind that you wanted the talk of the wrongdoing to be eclipsed by the results? Is that the reason as to why the same date was chosen? I want to know it from the Bharatiya Janata Party. There's a spokesperson here. Third is that 6 students, you talked of 67 candidates that had a perfect score. Now, 6 of them happen to be sitting in the same center. 6 of them. Is that another coincidence? I mean, the police has said it. It's not, the police is not the opposition. The police is not a political party. The police categorically said it, that there has been a paper leak. And despite that, the minister, having disregarded it, having negated it, goes on to suggest that there is something fishy here, that there is an ulterior motive as to why they're not wanting for it to come clean.
So
And
now at this point, you want a Supreme Court monitored probe.
And what we are saying is that instead of ensuring that stringent punishment is given to the perpetrators, there's some, यहाँ पे दाल में कुछ काला नहीं है, पूरी दाल काली है. So instead of ensuring a stringent punishment and a fast-track disposal, the Bharatiya Janata Party's government is doing a slow-track disposal of the case, and we want to know why.
Okay. Very quickly to Satyen Kulbakar of the BJP, the initial responses were slow, and as Abhijit points out, Mr. Pradhan did not have to be in such a hurry to say people leak nahi hua. Right? No evidence of leak, protest motivated. You're saying this about students. Satyen ji.
I would like to answer a few queries from my Congress counterpart. See, what he is trying to tell is that 4th को आपने result क्यों declare किया? That's the part of the lead team to decide which date they want to declare the result. It has the political arena, the counting, the results, and the results of these students are both a very different part of it. So let's not mix them up and let's not politicize them, both the part of it. See, the government has we are very clear on certain aspects of life. We understand that yes, there is this is a painful decision that we have taken. Even on the other aspects also, there is a CBI inquiry which has happened on the NEET part of it. But by doing all these things, we want to assure a very systematic, a very clear approach to the students and all those people appearing for the exams, maybe NEET or NEET or NET. We want to ensure that we will plug in all the gaps, because we are fighting against all those people. I don't want to get into discussion of why Tejasvi Yadav's link were found in that. It is pure academics, and let's deal as a part of as part of academics and not politicize it by linking it with Tejasvi Yadav or some other political party.
Let's not politicize it. Zafar Sareswala, you said it's an act of terror, it's a mafia, it's a group of gangsters, and without political nexus, they can't operate. So what should happen next? Abhijit Iyer Mitra says, tell me the solution. What now?
Yes, exactly. I think I'll continue what Abhijit said, that the government or the testing agency, they should come out with some form of next level. This leakage is going to be there. Always it is going to be there.
But shouldn't someone be punished? Shouldn't someone take moral responsibility?
Yeah.
Two major exams have been messed up on the watch of the NTA, right? The UGc-NET and the NEET. Whether we agree on what has gone wrong with the NEET, there has been a mess up. We all agree there's been a mess up.
They need to get into the bottom of it, where it has messed up. That's one part. Second, they need to come up with alternatives also. Okay, what next? Like, they can use the digital technology and all that. And third most important, see, once upon a time, in Mumbai, there was gang wars, there was extortion, there was collection of haftas, smuggling, so many things were happening. Wo bilkul finish ho gayi hai. There are no gangs. Ahmedabad, I don't know that there is any gang now. Once upon a time, there used to be dons. There are no dons. But what has happened, they've shifted to this area now. So I think the police and the law enforcement agency should get to the bottom of these people. And these people are doing act of terror. They are the ones, and they need to, because the punishment should be very stringent. Unless and until the punishment is not stringent to the level of which is given to the terrorists, they will continue. I think that they need to get to the bottom of it. So they have to have three-pronged attack.
Okay. So get to the bottom of it, change something within the NTA. But Abhijit, will that be enough? Because as you mentioned, Mr. Pradhan spoke out of turn before checking the facts. And today the opposition is obviously targeting him and targeting the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is not talking about this at all. He's in Kashmir today. Do you believe the Prime Minister should be talking about it? Because Rahul Gandhi is meanwhile meeting with aspirants. right, who are traumatized at this point? Or do you believe that we have to ignore the electoral or the sort of party politics of it and focus on the students? Is it possible to do one without doing the other right now?
I don't think it's possible to do that, but given the scale of people affected, 23 lakh students, it's definitely something the PM should be addressing. Now, there's a reason Dharmendra Pradhan is being targeted. The buck stops with him now because he decided to go on the NTA's word without taking confirmation or validation from the police. He jumped the gun, and now he has to pay the price for him jumping the gun. It's that simple. But there is something else out here. Notice, not one person on this panel was able to provide a solution. Not a solution to what needed to be done right now, and not what solution we should implement in the future. Like I said, come up with 50,000 questions, randomize each paper, which keeps, and that way, even a paper leak, because it gets so randomized. A NEET paper is 18 pages long, 180 questions. So, say 10, maybe longer, multiple choice questions. It becomes impossible to cheat. There are very simple things you can do, Barkha, that don't require more than, say, a few hundred crores to implement and make this exam system and the national exam system leak proof. But nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody on this panel wants to play their own political games. Nobody wants to tell us how to rectify the current mess that we're in. No, because everybody wants to blame everybody else.
Yeah. Sanjay Hegde, what now? Like, after we have said NTA has been terrible, Dharmendra Pradhan has jumped the gun, the government can take a decision without the Supreme Court. I do take Abhijit's point, which is, ab kya? What do we do now so that the lives and the futures of young people like Surbhi, they can't be protected, but they can, the hurt, the knock can be at least contained. What should happen now?
Well, there are two things. First is NEET 2024, and then there is the larger question of how do you make this entire system better. These are two different things. To my mind, NEET 2024 is so compromised that it cannot be saved. You have to redo the exam. There's no other go. And it is much safer to do that so that unqualified people do not get into undeserved seats. You are producing doctors for your country, and you have to have the best. So I think that is where the hearings will also go, and at the end of the day, the courts can only say yes, we uphold this exam subject to these things, or they will say redo it altogether. I so I am of the school which believes that you do need a makeover, or you do need to do 2024 all over again. 2025 onwards, come out with a better scheme. And there is a larger debate also. The states of Tamil Nadu, state of West Bengal, and many of the southern states say we do not want NEET. NEET was something which was imposed by the Supreme Court, and that is a separate story altogether. The Supreme Court imposed NEET because it thought that you should have one standardized system. But obviously, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. That basket has fallen. That basket has made such a scramble that we are trying to unscramble it. Now, I think that the first thing is that you have to redo the NTA altogether. The NTA has lost its credibility. You better put in some good administrator and come out, whether it is a blockchain based thing, whether it is based on any other computer elements or randomization. Those are decisions which can be taken. Ultimately, to test 23 lakh people or 25 lakh people safely without leakage is not that Herculean a task. But keeping the mafias away, yes, that would be action on another level altogether.
Immediately, how important is it to you, Surbhi? What is the most important thing to you? I think the rereading of the paper doesn't seem to be an option if you're also saying that it's been manipulated, it's been leaked, the top scorers, you're not convinced. If you have to take this paper a sixth time, will you take it? And will you take it if the NTA is the one administering it as a student? I'll give you the last word on this program.
Okay. Ma'am, I completely agree with Sanjeev Hegde sir about this. Itni manipulation and itni malpractices are there. We cannot find each and everything. Even if we read the exams, जिनको paper मिला है, they have done like better in the exams. So rereading it, it's not the one that we should do.